Hey everyone, can you believe it? It's almost the May long weekend. Time to start acclimatizing some of these and get them out there because they're starting to overgrow here a little bit, getting hard to manage. So this week we're going to be learning about so-called companion planting, or intercropping as I now like to call it. I have here some marigolds. I've always planted marigolds because I like the way they look, I like how they smell, but I was always told that if you scatter them around the garden, then they'll help to keep away some of the pests. But apparently that's not true. As you dig into the science of it, it makes a lot of sense that it's not necessarily that which is what keeping the bugs away. So, watch the video. I hope you learn lots this week, as always. Leave comments. I also advise you to visit the website. I'll leave it in the description as always, and I'll try and put it here as well. But yeah, there's a lot of resources there for sure. So it's not just the video, but there's a blog, there's a audio file, and other resources there too. So take a look and hopefully watch the video. Hopefully you'll learn lots. Leave a comment at the end, or subscribe if you haven't already. And hopefully talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye.
If you've ever looked up how to arrange a vegetable garden, you've probably seen a chart like this. They tell a charming story where tomatoes and basil are best friends, and certain vegetables just love being planted next to each other. The problem is, almost none of those pairings hold up to scrutiny. The vast majority of these popular companion planting charts are based entirely on anecdotal folklore and anthropomorphism, not rigorous agricultural science. Gardeners spend hours following these colorful grids, meticulously pairing the right herbs with the right grains, only to watch their crops still get decimated by pests and disease. Plant synergy is a real, measurable phenomenon, but it doesn't operate on invisible magic or plant emotions. It operates strictly through the hard rules of physics, chemistry, and biology. Trusting unverified folklore leaves your garden completely vulnerable. To actually protect a crop, you have to understand the specific ecosystem mechanics that alter the growing environment. Consider a common myth: the idea that planting aromatic herbs, like mint or basil, will create an invisible scent shield that blocks insects from finding your vegetables. In a closed laboratory setting, strong volatile organic compounds can repel insects, but outdoors, those aromatic chemicals dissipate instantly in open air currents. The scent simply doesn't stick around long enough to act as a barrier. This diagram illustrates a much more effective scientific model known as the disruptive crop hypothesis, showing how insect flight paths actually navigate over a garden grid. Notice how the insect behaves. Pests are primarily attracted to green objects in general, not a specific scent wafting from across the yard. They are searching visually, trying to isolate the exact leaf shape of their preferred host plant among a sea of other green shapes. By intercropping diverse plants, like laying down a low-growing cover of clover directly beneath your cabbage, you generate dense visual static. The pest repeatedly lands on the wrong leaf, wastes its limited energy reserves, and eventually gives up before it can colonize your cash crop. Managing incoming pests is an exercise in complex spatial visual architecture, not aromatic camouflage. Which brings us to the most famous piece of gardening folklore of all, the belief that planting marigold borders will act as a universal force field against all bad bugs. Marigolds do produce a biochemical that kills root nematodes, microscopic worms in the soil. But there's a major catch. That chemical is only released if you grow the marigolds as a highly dense cover crop and till them directly into the dirt. As a border, they do absolutely nothing to repel above-ground pests, and in some cases they actively attract spider mites. You cannot passively hope a flower will scare insects away. You have to cultivate a biological defense force to assassinate them. Certain species, known as insectary plants, are highly specialized for this task. Plants like dill, fennel, cilantro, and sweet alyssum provide essential, easily accessible nectar. This accessible nectar and shelter draws in the adult stages of predatory beneficial insects, like lady beetles and parasitic wasps. Once those adults arrive to feed, they stay to reproduce, becoming your active defense system. These resulting larvae aggressively hunt and consume the exact plant pests, like aphids, that are attacking your vulnerable vegetables. Engineering a specific habitat to support predatory insects will always outperform passively placing a flower in the dirt. Another deeply ingrained belief is that planting a legume, like a bean, directly next to a heavy feeding crop, like corn, will instantly pump free nitrogen straight into the neighboring plant's root system. This cutaway view of the bean plant's root system shows the biological reality. You can see these small nodules where the legume forms a symbiotic relationship with soil bacteria to pull nitrogen directly from the atmosphere. But the bean plant uses that nitrogen strictly for its own growth during the active season. That trapped nitrogen is only released in large, usable quantities for other plants after the legume dies and its root system decomposes into the soil. The famous Native American Three Sisters method, planting corn, beans, and squash together, is incredibly effective, but not because of immediate chemical transfers. It works because of physical architecture. The tall, rigid corn stalks act as a living vertical trellis, giving the bean vines required structural support to climb. And at the base, the final sister completes the structure. Low-growing squash provides a living mulch. Its massive leaves completely shade the rocky ground, which drops the soil temperature, retains critical moisture, and heavily suppresses weeds. True synergy relies on structural anchoring, physical architecture, and shade regulation, rather than invisible chemical transfers. Effective companion planting isn't about matchmaking plants based on who they like, it is about actively manipulating the physical and biological environment around them. You do this by confusing incoming pests visually, inviting predatory insects biologically, and supporting fragile crops physically. This culminates in the single most important rule derived from rigorous agricultural trials: diversify. This data visualization starkly lays out the risk. On the left, a large block of a single crop, a monoculture, suffers rapid devastation as pests easily jump from host to host. On the right, a highly diverse polyculture remains green and stable. As varietal diversity increases in a plot, pest infestation sharply decreases. It is time to leave the unproven folklore charts behind. By learning the proven mechanics of intercropping, you step out of the role of a passive gardener and you become an ecosystem engineer.